If you see the outcome of the recent poll, you have to understand that there is no love for Go. 0%. Go is hated. It's actually kind of funny. Go is so hated, even with my like 2,280 subs, which could, theoretically just all be bots. So, oh wait, this is old. Here we go. Go got so much hate, it got 0%. 12-hour foot video is more important than Go. Think about that one. Let's go on. I'm just gonna go on Twitter real quick and see who hate posted me. I love talking shit on the internet. It's my favorite. It's my second favorite thing to do. My first favorite thing to do is gooning. I'm a Zcash hater. But I will say that 12-hour foot video would be more enjoyable than Go. So I might do both. I might do tutorial hell. I'm learning about pointers right now. I'm pretty fucking retarded, so don't know how that's going to work out. After, what did I get? No. After tutorial hell with C, I'm going to do a 12-hour foot video because 43% asked, and the 43% people still matter. They're human too. I just don't like Bitcoin people either. They're smelly. She said, wow, narrow. Interesting. I love reading. Man, people take Twitter way too serious. Americans are honestly a bunch of fucking losers. As an American, embarrassing, by the way, to see people challenge debates, challenging. They're like, it's like kind of funny because like people on Twitter will be like, challenge me to a debate. I will destroy you. They're like Batman level fucking retards that barely made it through school. And kind of gay. It's got to be insufferable to be that cringe on the internet. It's just funny. Not gonna lie, I mean, like, Twitter's kind of a circle jerk. This is sad. Interesting. Okay, now that I'm done, looking at funny ha-has. Nice. Okay. We're ready. We're going to be talking about Chapter 7. Super cool. Chapter 7 is going to be more in the Monero blockchain itself. We learned about ring signatures and how kind of it works. A lot of math and a lot of brain damage along the way. Ring signatures are kind of cool. Bulletproofs are kind of cool. But in case we need a synopsis, we're going to do this real quick. If you haven't been a part of the stream, explain ring signatures of Monero like I'm 5. I should have been keeping notes, but I haven't because I'm retarded. But it's kind of easy. Imagine, I kind of know how it works. It's pretty much like you all put money into a hat, you all pull out the money, and no one knows where it's at. Imagine you and 4 friends are playing a game where you all want to send a secret message together, but you don't want anyone to know who actually wrote it. You each have a special key, and you mix your keys together so that the message looks like it could have came from any one of you. That's kind of how Monero's ring signatures work. When someone sends Monero, they don't just use their own key. They pick a few of other older transactions from the Monero blockchain, like fake messages and other people, and mix them with their own, and the group of keys is called a ring. The real sender uses their secret key to sign the transaction, but all the keys in the ring look the same to the outsider. No one can tell which key is the real sender, like saying, oh, one of us sent it, but not saying who. Like, you all kind of say at the same time, like, hey, we sent it, but you don't know which one sent it. Or the $20 bill is always my favorite one to explain this. Hey, we all put $20 bills in the hat, and someone pulls out those $20 bills. You don't know who the $20 bill kind of like belonged to. To make sure no one spends the same amount of money twice, Monero uses something called key image. This is like a special fingerprint made for the sender's key. It's unique to each transaction. If someone tries to spend the same money again, the network will see the same fingerprint and stop it. But the fingerprint doesn't reveal which key in the ring was used, so privacy still stays strong. Then we need to understand kind of bulletproofs. This is all about so this is like kind of like the spacing and the addressing and a little bit of something else. But imagine if you have a secret box with some candies inside, but you don't want to tell anyone how many candies are in it. You want to prove your friends that you have a positive number of candies. Monero versus debit card. Monero wins. Fuck debit cards. Debit cards owned by MasterCard and Visa, and they gay. You want to prove that your friends have a positive number of candies, not negative, which would make sense. without showing them the exact number. Bulletproofs are like a special magic trick that lets you just do that, but for Monero transactions. Hardware Monero key for use at the local supermarket, that would be kind of base. So you could use a hardware. So in theory, you can use a hardware wallet in. Once we go over like how the time works, people are like, oh, how would I know the Monero is sent? You have to wait 10 minutes. Not really. You have to just wait for the first transaction. Once the first transaction is kind of like settled on the blockchain, you somewhat already know that it's going to be sent. Like it's going to be sent. But we'll go into that. I think that they say that in a later chapter they're going to talk about it. But in Monero, when you send the money, the amount is hidden using a special code called persistent commitment. Bulletproofs are the magic trick that proves this hidden number is real, positive amount, like between 0 and a very big number, without revealing what it actually is. This is super important because it stops anyone from creating money out of thin air. Before Bulletproofs, the magic trick was very big and took up a lot of space on the blockchain, like a huge book. Bulletproofs make the magic trick much smaller and faster to check. Or address, I don't know much Monero terminology. No, this could be like, you could use this in a theoretical sense. So the hardware wallets could be used this in theory. You could, because you want it to be secure and offline, you don't want your debit card to be online all the time. So like debit cards are kind of offline. It's just when you plug it in, you are kind of confirming like, hey, there's an account with this debit card number that has money. Let me look that up real quick. Oh, it does have money. This item costs $12. Oh, there is $12 in this account. You kind of like, they have a handshake they kind of agree on. This item costs $12 and your bank account happens to have $12 in it. They don't know that you have, say, $10,000 in it, but they know you have $12 in it. And your bank's like, yeah, they have $12. So they approve the $12 transaction. You could do this with hardware wallets. It would be kind of complicated because first you have to plug the Monero address and the amount. Then the hardware wallet has to agree to the transaction. Like, yeah, you're sending $12 to this wallet. This wallet's real. Here's the $12. This is the sending. And then once the $12 is sent out, you have to sign it. So you have to show your key, like you're like, hey, I own this Monero and this $12 is real. And then your wallet's like, cool, you are the owner of this $12 of Monero for this candy bar, and it signs the transactions. And then like, it's like about a 4-step process. It'd make obviously with hot wallets that are connected to the internet, this would be more efficient because then you could just see the QR code, scan it, and be like, oh, cool, there's $12 here, here's $12. But that would be somewhat less secure. Not going to be here much, so see ya. My brain already hurts. Fair. It's okay that if your brain hurts. Hurt brains means that you're learning. $12 for a candy bar? What the fuck? Look, inflation, man. $12 candy bars actually are the norm because we live in Iceland. So the hidden number is real and positive amount. So that's pretty much what it is. So there could be a theory where this could be faster. Some people have complained that like, hey, the Lightning Network has met this arbitrary like number. Like Lightning is quick and fast and efficient and cheap. But you have to remember that it's not. It's private. Everyone says that it's private, but it's really not. Lightning has some privacy issues that need to be addressed. This is something that you have to take into consideration. Let's see. But that's pretty much the synopsis of the last few chapters. Lots of math, lots of things involved, and you have to remember that. You have to kind of remember that, like, Monero's not perfect. It's not like pure privacy. There are some limitations that we're going to come across and some problems. There is a series that I would like to do, like maybe not maybe a reaction on once I understand Monero a little bit more. Breaking Monero. The content is kind of old. It's about 6 years, so I don't really think that it's stealing content where I'm gonna click a bunch of like do a bunch of click farming and like rage baiting and just get a bunch of people to like where we're just stealing like the artists. Obviously, credit where credit is due. Breaking Monero is I wouldn't say it's outdated now. It's still probably very relevant, but definitely run your own node. That is always going to be the answer. Like most people are like, what should I do? Run your own node. That solves a lot of problems. And it's easy. It's not as hard as everyone makes it out to be. You have to remember that. All right, but enough yapping. Chapter 7, the Monero blockchain. The internet age has brought a new dimension of human experience. We can correspond with people on every corner of the planet, and unimaginably wealth of information is at our fingertips. Exchanging goods and services is fundamental for a peaceful and prosperous society, and in the digital realm, we can offer our productivity to the whole world. I agree with this. In 2025, we have more choice and access to anything on the planet. We have more choice and access to advanced technology. We have more choice and access to media than ever before that people will probably kill for if you were to even give them a sliver, a small part of what we have in society. We can look at the outer and see, we can scope out and look at the United States and the vast majority of the world and talk about all the evils and all the problems that society has. Of course we can, because it's very easy and very convenient to look at the negative and not the positive in society. We have really good modern medicine today. We have excellent technology, and in perspective, we have an access to a wealth of knowledge that, again, people would have killed for even 50, 60 years ago. I can open my phone, go to a page, and learn about something without having to go to the library. I have an access to sources. I have access to information. But everything at the end of the day is a double-edged sword. When you look at privacy in a perspective, yes, we have more access to information now, but we have a cost of privacy, and we have no laws and or no purpose put into place to give us access to privacy. There hasn't been a law written to embrace and or give us access to privacy, only strip it, the Patriot Act, and we have not been able to also preach to people and convince them on a fundamental level why privacy matters. we're actually at the opposite end. Most people say, I have quote unquote nothing to hide, which could be considered a problem. But now that we have access to a slew and kind of like a toolbox of forms of encrypted end-to-end encrypted communities, end-to-end encrypted communications, we have a growing and big, vast majority of people that are switching to free and open source software applications. We have Graphene OS. We have things that can definitely solve a lot of fundamental privacy problems in modern society, but the issue right now is the human element. We don't have the ability to convince people on things that they do not care about. The only thing you can do is show them the evidence that privacy matters and why it does matter, and eventually maybe they will join your side. This sometimes takes a very long time, and you have to be patient. And again, you could look at the negatives. You could be like, well, I do have nothing to hide. Nothing matters. Anything can be hacked. Why should I care? What is the point of being tracked when I'm always being tracked and trying to stop it when I cannot not be tracked? I mean, quite literally, people went from, if you would have told someone 20 to 30 years ago that Facebook is tracking you and probably feeding their money to the government, they'd call you a schizoid and tell you to put your helmet on. Now, it's kind of like we know we're being tracked, but we don't want to do anything about it. This is where education and reinforcement matters, and setting boundaries. This is kind of like a tangent that I'm always going to go on. I think it's important to set privacy and security boundaries, aka not communicating not through Signal, and making sure that people understand your boundaries. I don't want social media. I don't want to be in this picture. I don't want you posting my face online, etc., etc. Those are kind of important things to come across, because I don't think of them as negative. I only think of them as positive. You're setting positive boundaries around you so people respect them, and then that might bring them to your side. We're like, oh, I'm tired of constantly having to wait for a response via SMS when I know that my friend Tim is going to respond faster with Signal. So I'm going to switch to Signal. And you don't even have to tell them the privacy and security benefits of using Signal. It just kind of works. And it has, some other options. That's just something to think about. We could always, again, look at the negative when I think there is a lot more positive in the world, and it's not as scary as everyone makes it out to be. Or maybe I'm just an optimist. I don't know. Haven't figured it out. But I digress. We're going to go back into it. Electronically. In the current, by far most persuasive model, electronic transactions are handled by third-party financial institutions, aka MasterCard, aka Amex, aka Visa. These institutions are given custody of money and trusted to transfer it upon request. Some institutions must mediate disputes. Their payments are reversible, and they can be censored or controlled by powerful organizations. This is true. To alleviate these drawbacks, decentralized digital currencies have been engineered. When you have places like MasterCard and Visa, they're like, oh, if you do, OnlyFans, if you do porn, if you work in maybe even the gun industry, and Visa and MasterCard are like, we don't want to deal with that. You can't sell guns. You can't sell big titties. You can't sell weed. You can't sell this. You can't sell that. You gotta go by our standards. We're not going to deal with you. Or PayPal, for example, that actually took has put in people's accounts on hold because maybe they don't agree, or maybe some higher ups don't agree with what they look at. This makes these payment systems unfungible, meaning that they are not anonymous, they're not transparent, they're not fungible. Like I could say, like I look up your business because you use your credit card or your debit card or whatever with my company, and I'm like, I don't really like your guys' policy or your politics or the way you look at the society. I'm going to reject this, and you can have a nice day. Would this happen in the normal world? Most likely, not really, probably because you'd be turning away money, and that's kind of retarded. But in reality, no one should know anything about you beyond the fact that I want this product, here's my money. That's kind of how I look at it. Digital currency, I mean, more and more places, I don't think cash is going anywhere, but more and more places kind of expect you to pay with a card. In my experience, not so much. They like when I pull out cash, no one freaks out or like has a stroke. I haven't found a no cash business. Actually, I'm back. Welcome back, Billy. We appreciate you. Did you buy a $12 candy bar? I've never found a place that hasn't accepted cash yet, or been weirded out that like I had in them cash. They're just kind of like, oh, cool. Now we don't have to pay our 3% fee, and then the fees that you're paying with it. So that's something. The fees that you're paying in order to accept convenience of people not carrying cash is something to think about. That's why places are like, save 3% because we're not going to charge it. Or when you get Mulvad, save 10%. Because you're sending a currency that actually has value and has gone up intrinsically. So pretty much the decentralized currencies have been engineered. Digital currency. Designing a digital currency is not trivial. There are 3 types: personal, centralized, or distributed. Keep in mind that digital currency is just a collection of messages, and the amounts recorded in those messages are interpreted as monetary quantities. This is how monetary value works. This is how the blockchain works. It's like, hey, we intrinsically think that Bitcoin is worth XYZ, a dollar amount, because people still live off fiat, and we're going to collectively agree that this is what this is worth. I mean, this is kind of how gold works. This is how most things in society works. In this chapter includes more implementation details than the previous chapter, as a blockchain's nature depends heavily on its specific structure. Chapter 7, the Monero blockchain. In this email model, anyone can make coins. Message, e.g., a message saying I own 5 coins, and anyone can send their coins over and over to whoever has an email address. It does not have a limited supply, nor does it prevent spending the same coins over and over, double spending. In the video game model, wherein the entire currency is stored and recorded on a central database, users rely on custodian to be honest. The currency supplied is unfavorable for observers, and the custodian can change the rules at any time and be censored by powerful outsiders. This is true. So, an easy way to explain this is there are some coins out there that don't have a high supply chain. I mean, basic economics 101 is supply and demand. If you don't know what supply and demand is, I mean, the easiest way to educate you is if there is a finite amount of supply of something, say there's only 5 big milker cowgirl anime titty figurines out there, and they have a intrinsic value of a want, and someone's like, I want this, they might pay $500. That $500 is because that is what they demean a value onto it. Now, all the other big titty anime milker anime figure waifus out there, now there's 1 less in circulation, meaning there's 4. Now, there's a scarcity factor. This scarcity factor actually makes people like nervous. So they are like, well, I'll pay $700 for a big titty anime milker, anime figure. And now there's less. So now there's 3. So it's like, oh, I gotta get it. This is like Labubu, like pretty much what Labubus are. People have a scarcity factor. There's a less supply in circulation, and there is a demand. And the demand comes probably artificially now from the internet. So this is like essentially what like blockchain technology, Bitcoin is based off of. People don't realize that there is a finite amount of Bitcoin out there. It is going to be mined, and then eventually going to be very harder to obtain because people are going to hoard it. Hoarding kind of helps makes assets explode. I mean, I've watched tons of videos on gold. Gold has really no user value outside of dental work and computers, but there's other solutions out there, and gold essentially is being hoarded, and hence why it has an intrinsic value. People are afraid that they will never be able to attain gold because the price keeps going up. But in reality, gold, in my opinion, is a very worthless asset. Due to the laws of supply and demand, no one wants to buy shells because there are loads in the sand. MoneyGram Part 2 by Ren. Is this real? Well, I mean, diamonds are actually very artificially. I mean, supply and demand can be a very basic understanding of can be very based understanding of economics to like a 5-year-old. But diamonds have no value. Diamonds are super inflated. I mean, there are artificial markets where the price of something doesn't make sense, and diamonds is one of them. But there's a long history of why that's so. Step 1, you need to make sense of scarcity. Shells will sell much better if people think that they're rare. You see, Money Game Part 2 by Ren. Is this a real thing? Or is this one of these? Damn you. Oh, you're singing a song. Thought it was a game. Just look up the lyrics of Money Game Part 2. Damn you, Reddit. I'll get super fucking copyright strike if I play this. Strange times we're living in, panic and hysteria. Poor man learns the rich man don't care for your narcissist mindset. Yeah. Rain. Money is the game, and the leaders where you climb turns. Okay, that's a lot of reading, man. 100% this person is a Nepo baby. Industry plant. This is a Nepo baby industry plant. Rengyo, oh, in German. Can I English this? East 9 Ost Duren Familie. I can't fucking read this. Damn you. Whatever. We're gonna go back to real money economics. But I will say that like it's somewhat true. The laws of supply and demand. No one wants to buy shells because they're loads in sand. Supply doesn't always correlate to what it. I mean, a supply, like if you have like a massive supply, but the demand outweighs the supply, then you could essentially still have a artificial or saturated market. I mean, it happens all the time. Again, diamonds. Diamonds there's a plethora amount of them. Diamonds aren't rare. They're not even their property, like them being on the scale of hardness, is cool, but in reality they're not real. There's not much use of them besides jewelry. And I think they're used in lasers or something. So, because they're used in lasers, and I think they're used in lasers. Could I be wrong? Before we continue, I must know this. I think somebody has said. No, I used to talk to a diamond broker, and they were like, diamonds are like, he's like, lab grown diamonds are the future, and I didn't really believe him. And they're kind of, honestly, the China factories can make artificial diamonds that are really Yes, I was just about to say that. Yeah, like what do you call it? Lab grown diamonds are fucking crazy, and they're a fraction of the cost. Where diamonds are employed for cutting, drilling, and polishing because they are on a score of 10 of them, making them the hardest known natural material. Industrial grade diamonds, which consist about 70% of mined diamonds, are used in saw blades, drill bits, grinding wheels, and cut through materials like stone, metal, and concrete. So they're pretty much used to cut. In the automotive industry, diamond coated tools are used to cut and finish car body components. In the electronics industry, relies on diamonds for polishing silicon wafers and computer disk drives for use in heat sinks within Okay, great minds think alike. True. I was just thinking about lab-grown diamonds. But what I'm saying is, like, if it's so fucking good, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really used in practical application for like everyday users. That kind of defeats the purpose. It's just used in like fucking like construction, that's cool. There's no hate. There's no hate. But that's just like, you know. Okay. 7.11.1 distributed share version of events. In digital shared money, I was thinking you would say true to that. I think our minds are telepathically connected. They could be connected through Tor. They're connected peer to peer, buddy. Our peer to peer minds are synced. You might be Billy Jenkins. What about Billy Bo Jenkins? 12. Billy Bo Jenkins, 13. All right. So, distributed share versions of events. In digital shared money, many computers each have a record of each currency transaction. Or maybe the ghost of Chernobyl is here to link our brains. Conspiracy theory. True. Based on Rust, though. We need to rewrite Chernobyl in Rust. In transaction is made on a computer. It is broadcasted to the other computers and accepted if the following follows the predefined rules. Users only benefit from coins when other users accept them in exchange, and users only accept coins they feel that are legitimate. To maximize the utility of these coins, users are naturally inclined to settle on one commonly accepted rule sets without the presence of central authority. Money can only be created in clearly defined scenarios. Rule 2: transactions spend money that can already exist. Transactions spend money that already exist. A person can only spend a piece of money once. Only the person who owns the piece of money can spend it. Transactions output money equal to the money spent. Transactions are formatted correctly. This is kind of a good way to look at it. So gold, when you trade gold, by the way, the XMR chat isn't there anymore. No! OBS deceived me. It's kind of weird, actually, because it's still there. Interesting. I see that it is not there. Good manual, though. You got FreeBSD manual open? Yeah, because I'm going to eventually install FreeBSD and go through the hardening process. It's an interesting manual. So money, like, if I trade gold, if you have, like, okay, a perfect example of this. If I have a cow and I have gold, and someone wants to trade their gold for my cow, in theory, if I only have one cow, I'm losing. Even though cows are finite, even though cows have an expiration date and can die and can get sick, and gold can't do any of that. It's mutable. All right, later. See you, Billy. Gold is still like it's infinite. It can last forever, technically, and it has a physical value, and it is divisible, and it's spendable, etc., etc. You quite literally would be still a fool to give up a cow, because a cow can provide a supply of food, and then eventually XYZ after that, food. It'd be like the same thing as berries or anything. Anything that provides life and food traded for a physical commodity like gold. You can't eat gold, at the end of the day. You can't like clothe yourself with gold. And because of that, I just say stay for the gold cow analogy, though. true. You always have to stay for the analogy. A cow, even though it's finite, in my opinion, in my perception, it has more intrinsic value because cows, at the end of the day, can produce a lot of milk, which is a liquid, which is nutrient, which is food. And then eventually, when it has to leave this earth, I can shoot it and then skin it for clothing. And then I can take it. You can't milk gold, surprisingly. But for whatever reason, gold has an insane intrinsic value in society because we add a value. It's collective. I think it's called collective. Collective. I would call it collective value. We put a value on it collectively. Society sees gold as a value. We collectively put a value on it, and we get scared when it gets sold because it's a scarcity. But you can't milk gold. You can't really do much with gold beyond on dental work and computer work. Just, But yeah, you can't milk gold, yet it has more value than a cow. Even though cows will die. Rules 2 and 6 are covered by the transaction scheme discussed in Chapter 6, which adds the fungibility and privacy-related benefits of ambiguous signing, anonymous receipts of funds, and unreadable amounts of transfers. We explained Rule 1 later in this chapter. Transactions used in cryptography, so we call their content a cryptocurrency. If two computers receive different legitimate transaction spending at the same time money before they have a chance to send the information to each other, how do they decide which is correct? There is a fork of the currency because two different copies of the following same rules exist. Clearly, the earliest legitimate transactions of spending a piece of money should be canonical, and this is easier than said than done. As we'll see, obtaining consensus for each transaction histories constitutes the raison d'etre of blockchain technology. I mean, blockchain technology, again, you can't milk Monero at the end of the day, but right now, Monero meets this criteria of rules that people want. Like, in a sense, those rules are probably one rule or two is broken somewhere. Like, you can't, again, milk gold, but the transactions spend money already exist. A person can only spend a piece of money once. If I can infinitely spend, a certain amount of money, then essentially, like if I could take, like $1 and keep spending it, and it loses no value, and I can just give you $1 and it's like ends up being worth 100 at the end of it, then it doesn't really have much value because I have an infinite amount of supply of it. So that is something that you got to think about. Monero, I can't keep spending it. This is what's put in place of its property of securing that it's a fungible token. Cryptocurrency. If two computers receive different legitimate transaction spending at the same money before they have a chance to send the information to each other, how do they decide which is correct? There is a fork in the currency because two different copies that follow the same rules exist. Clearly, the earliest legitimate transaction spending of a piece of money should be canonical technology. In political science, this is called Schelling point, a social minima or social contract. In commodity money, like gold, these rules are met by physical reality. Okay, interesting. We're going to look up this and see what it says. Interesting. A Schelling point, known as a focal point, is a solution that people tend to choose by default in the absence of communication because it seems natural, special, or relative to them. The concept was introduced by American economist Tom Schelling in the 1960s books The Strategy of Conflict, where he describes it as a way for individuals to coordinate their actions in cooperative situations without direct communication. A classic example is two people trying to meet in New York City without prior planning. They are likely to choose a prominent landmark like Grand Central Terminal at noon because it offers a higher payoff because it is salient makes a neutral focal point. These points emerge from shared knowledge, cultural norms, and mutual expressions, and they play a crucial role in economics, game theory, and negotiations in social conditioning. This is actually something to think about. So when a lot of foreigners outside of the United States, probably when they come to the United States, they think of New York, they think of LA, they think of these two places because outside of the United States, that's all you hear about is New York and LA. They're huge. They're huge landmarks. So if I were to be a betting man and I were to in an economic theory, if I was like, let's meet in the middle, somewhere in the United States, I could probably bet without knowing the person, they would pick New York or LA, one of the two, and they would probably pick the Statue of Liberty or Staten Island or whatever the bridge or any, in LA, the Golden Gate Bridge, because there's such huge landmarks that people know them. So you could probably bet that they would pick one of those spots and you could have no prior knowledge to this and you could meet this person, be like, hey, meet me somewhere in LA, and they would probably pick the Golden Gate Bridge, aka San Francisco, because people generally go based off of what they know, not what they think is the best solution or the most optional or rational solution. It is an interesting concept, and it kind of makes sense. Like when you talk to any foreigner about the United States, they'll generally bring up one of those two places. They're like, oh, are you from LA? Are you from New York? Are you from the Statue of Liberty? Kind of thing. Like, so it kind of makes sense. No one's gonna be like, are you from Boise, Idaho? Type shit, you know what I'm saying, brother? Interesting. The Monero blockchain. Simple blockchain. First, we need all computers, henceforth referred as nodes, to agree on the order of transactions. Let's say a currency starts with a Genesis declaration. Let's let the sample coin begin. We call this message a block, and its block hash is BHG equals H. Let the sample coin begin. Every time a node receives some transactions, they use hashes of those transactions, TH, like the message, along with the previous block hash and the compute new block hashes. BH1 equals H, BHG, TH1 and TH2. BH2 equals H, BH1, TH3, TH4, and so on. Publishing each new block of message as it's made, each new block references the previous, most recently published block. In this way, a clear order of events extends and chains all the way back to the Genesis message. We have a very simple blockchain. Nodes can include a timestamp in their blocks to aid recorded keeping. If most nodes are honest with the timestamps, then the blockchain provides a decent picture of what each transaction was recorded. Difficulty. If nodes can publish new blocks whenever they want, the network might fracture and diverge into many different equally legitimate chains. Say it takes 30 seconds to make sure everyone in the network gets a new block. What if new blocks are sent out every 31 to 15 to 10 seconds, etc.? We can control how fast the entire network makes new blocks if the time takes takes to make a new block is much higher than the time the previous block to reach most nodes, the network will tend to remain intact. Mining a block. The output of a cryptographic hash function is uniformly distributed and apparently independent of these input. This means a given potential input, its hash is equally likely to be every single possible output. Furthermore, it takes a certain amount of time to compute a single hash. A blockchain is technically a direct acyclic graph, DAG, with Bitcoin-style blockchains in one-dimensional variant. DAGs contain a finite number of nodes and one-directional edges, vectors, connecting the nodes. If you start with one node, you will never loop back into it no matter what path you take. That's kind of crazy. Let's imagine a hash function which outputs numbers from 1 to 100. Given some x, h selects the same random number from 1 to 100. Every time you calculate it, it takes 1 minute to calculate. So where you're given a message M and told to find a nonce n, some integers such that h mn outputs a number less than equal to the target. Since only 1/20th of outputs will meet the target, it should take around 20 guesses of n to find that one that works, and hence 20 minutes of computing time. Searching for a useful nonce is called mining, and publishing the message with its nonce is a proof of work because it proves we found a useful nonce, even if we were lucky to find it with just one hash, or even blindly publishing a good nonce, which anyone can verify by computing HIMN. Searching for a useful nonce is called mining, and publishing the message with its nonce is a proof of work because it provides a finite usefulness. Oh yeah, now we see have a hash function. I guess we're going to go to mining speed. Assume all nodes are mining at the same time, but quit on their current block when they receive a new one from the network. They immediately start mining a fresh block that references the new one. Supposedly, we collect a bunch B of recent blocks from the blockchain, say with index UE1B, which each has a difficulty du. For now, we assume the nodes were mined that mined them were honest, so each block's timestamps TSU is accurate. The total time between the earliest block and the most recent block is the total time of TSI, and the appropriate number of hashes it took to mine all the blocks is total difficulty equals EUDU. Now we can guess how fast the network. With all the nodes compute hashes, if the actual speed didn't change much while the bunch of blocks were being produced, it should be effectively hash speed equals total difficulty / total time. We use EDR to say the output of deterministically random, and Monero only difficulties are recorded and computed since HPOW and burrito time. We use EDR to say the output is deterministically random. In Monero, only difficulties are recorded, computed, since HPOW proof of work. MN doesn't need T. Mining and verifying are asymmetric since it takes the same time to verify proof of work. One computation of the proof of work algorithm, no matter what the difficulty is. Timestamps are determined when the miner starts mining a block, so they're likely to lag behind the actual publication moment. The next block starts mining right away, so the timestamp appears after giving the block indicates how long the miner spent. If node 1 tries to nonce N23 and later node 2 tries to also nonce 23, node 2's effort is wasted because the network already knows that N equals 23 doesn't work. Otherwise, node 1 would have published that block. The network's effectiveness hash rate depends on how fast it hashes unique nonces for a given block message, as we'll see. Since miners introduced a miner transaction with one-time addresses, K0 EERZT effectively random in the blocks, and blocks are always unique between miners except with negligible probability, so trying the same nonsense doesn't matter. Interesting. The time to require a solo mine on Monero block depends heavily on your hash rate. And the current network difficulty, on average, Monero block is mined every 2 minutes but to solo mining, success is not guaranteed and can take significantly longer due to variance. For instance, with a hash rate of 54 kilohashes, it would take approximately 107 days on average to solve one block. Lower hash rates result in much longer wait time. For example, a hash rate of 120 versus 54 kilohashes would take around 11 years on average to find a block, while 3 kilohashes might yield a block only once a month. Wow. Even with a relatively higher hash rate of 40 kilohashes, it would still take about 68 days on average under current difficulty levels. Therefore, solo mining is generally only feasible for miners with sustainable computing power, as probability finding block is extremely low with modest hardware. Wow, that is something to think about. In perspective, I mean, that's a lot. fuck it, while we eat, we play Magic and we come back. While that's loading, I will have to read. Reason Graphene lore. Okay, cool. True. Nice. Don't worry, guys. We're going back to. Damn. Moneros. Oh, this is easy. The Big Great Wall. You can only block one. You can't do damage, so it doesn't really matter. Tummy trend's funny. Ooh. It's over. And he quits. Awesome, guys. I gave you an hour and 7 minutes of my day. I appreciate everyone stopping by. We'll definitely do some more content tomorrow.